Somehow, and this always shocks me. This always shocks me. Somehow he is North Carolina's sitting lieutenant governor. I don't understand. We might need to go back. History Channel going to have to go back and figure out how that happened. Hi, my name is Reese Waters and I'm troubled. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page, and welcome to all our brand new members. Now, by now, I'm sure you've seen the bombshells that come out of Jack Smith's court filings.
In the immediate post-election period, while Trump claimed fraud without proof, his private operatives sought to create chaos rather than seek clarity at polling places where states were continuing to tabulate votes. For example, on November 4th, someone identified as Person 5, a campaign employee, agent, and co-conspirator of the defendant, tried to sow confusion when the ongoing vote count at the TCF Center in Detroit, Michigan looked unfavorable to Trump. There, when a colleague at the TCF Center told Person 5, "We think a batch of votes heavily in Biden's favor is right," Person 5 responded, "Find a reason it isn't. Give me options to file litigation." The colleague suggested there was about to be unrest reminiscent of the Brooks Brothers riot, a violent effort to stop the vote count in Florida after the 2000 presidential election. Person 5 responded, "Make them riot and do it." Upon receiving a phone call alerting him that Pence had been taken to a secure location, someone identified as Person 15 rushed to the dining room to inform Trump in hopes that Trump would take action to ensure Pence's safety. Instead, after Person 15 delivered the news, Trump looked at him and said only, "So what?"
That's right. So what? And make them riot. And at this point, I feel like we can break Americans into one of two camps. Those that are already aware of Trump's responsibility and complicity with the big lie and everything that happened on January 6th. And those that are so willing to lie and so willing to contort themselves to make excuses for what Trump did that no amount of additional evidence will move them. I suppose there's also a very tiny third subsection of people who legitimately feel like he is absolved from any responsibility with the big lie in January 6th. But quite frankly, those people shouldn't be allowed to vote. I mean, really, and certainly nothing I say is going to move them if none of this evidence has.
You are fake news.
Now, to those in category 1 who are already in the place that I find myself in, we don't need any of this additional evidence. For those in category 2, just to give you an idea, we already saw the levels that they are willing to go to cover for Trump's responsibility in the big lie.
He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
It's a damning non-answer for you to not talk about censorship. Obviously, Donald Trump and I think that there were problems in 2020. We've talked about it. I'm happy to talk about it further. But you guys attack us for not believing in democracy.
Now, I got into all of that 12th round knockout, I believe it was, at the hands of Coach Walls. But one of the things that I actually didn't cover this week were the lies that Trump has been spreading about Hurricane Helene. He is out here talking about how the Biden-Harris administration has been irresponsible and hasn't gotten in touch with people they've clearly gotten in touch with.
The governor's doing a very good job. He's having a hard time getting the president on the phone. I guess they're not being responsive. The federal government is not being responsive, but they're having a very hard time getting the president on the phone.
The president just called me yesterday afternoon. I missed him and called him right back, and he just said, "Hey, what do you need?" And I told him, you know, we got what we need. We'll work through the federal process. He offered that if there's other things we need, just to call him directly, which I appreciate that.
Donald Trump has accused both of you of ignoring the disaster.
He is lying. Let me get this straight. He's lying. And the governor told him he was lying.
The governor told me he's lying. I've spoken to the governor, spending time with him, and he told me he's lying. I don't know why he does this. And the reason I get so angry about it, I don't care about what he says about me, but I care what he communicates to the people that are in need. He implies that we're not doing everything possible.
Hey, people of the South, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Donald Trump is willing to make you feel neglected and alone in a moment of crisis because it helps him politically. Your anger is what he wants, not your protection, not clothes on your back, not food in your belly. All he wants is your anger. But the thing about your anger, that anger isn't going to put clothes on your back or food in your belly or a roof back over your head. In fact, that anger will actually make it less likely that you get the help that's actually available because you're too busy swearing that it's not there.
I know I sound stupid to the Democrats right now.
Now, in light of the sensitivity of this particular tragedy, I'm not going to play the music, but this is absolutely a leopard's eating face moment. It absolutely is, because you were willing to ignore and excuse him squashing the border deal because it was something that he could run on, even though this is an issue that you say is pressing and it's actually affecting the people who live on the border every single day. You're willing to throw them under the bus and ignore the fact that he squashed it so you could continue the rhetoric of blaming them for the open border.
You're a real gentleman about this, and I know you're not trying to zing your colleagues, but it's your colleagues in your party, sir, who torpedoed this, who didn't get the facts right on what you just outlined was in that measure. They killed it. Ironically, not Democrats.
Right. It was, and it was painful to be able to watch it. It got stirred up in all the presidential politics, and several of my colleagues started looking for ways. After President Trump said, don't fix anything during the presidential election, it's the single biggest issue during the election, don't resolve this, we'll resolve it next year. Quite a few of my colleagues backed up, looked for a reason to be able to shoot against it, and then walked away. I get that. That's a decision everybody makes in it. My issue is if we're pursuing everything, we very often end up with nothing. If we're pursuing someone coming later to fix it, later seems to never come. When we have a moment to fix things, we should fix as many things as we can then come back later and fix the rest.
That's on Donald Trump, Senator.
But in this moment, here you have him asserting that they are being irresponsible and the help is not there. My question to you, are you taking the help that's available? Are you taking the help that's available? Or do you just want to stand with Trump and squalor because it helps him make a political point?
That's enough. Put down the mic.
And while we're talking about leopards eating faces, enter Mark Robinson. And I know y'all know Mark Robinson.
Ain't but two genders, ain't nothing but men and women. When it was time to face down Goliath, sent David, not DeVita, David.
We could pass a bill saying you can't have an abortion in North Carolina for any reason.
He's got a history, open history of rank anti-Semitism, along with a bunch of other bigoted statements. He's made grotesque anti-abortion ads accusing women of not being responsible enough to keep your skirt down. Just 2 weeks ago, he had to deny a report that he was once a 5 nights a week attendee at multiple porn shops where he often brought a pizza into a private booth with him. CNN dropped a report that Robinson made a series of inflammatory comments on a pornography website's message board more than a decade ago, in which he referred to himself as a, quote, black Nazi and expressed support for reinstating slavery.
Somehow, and this always shocks me, somehow he is North Carolina's sitting lieutenant governor. I don't understand. We might need to go back. History Channel going to have to go back and figure out how that happened. North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson was the lone state lawmaker who didn't approve Governor Roy Cooper's request to declare Hurricane Helene an emergency and mobilize emergency services ahead of the deadly storm. As the hurricane approached the state last week, Roy Cooper requested approval from the 9-person Council of State to act under the North Carolina Emergency Management Act. Within hours, all but one member had responded, And yes, that was Mark Robinson. You might be wondering, where was Mark Robinson? What was he up to? What did he have to do that he couldn't respond to the governor? Certainly, get your mind out the gutter. Y'all know that man wasn't back on Nude Africa. No, not at a time like this. And it's probably down. Honestly, it's probably, or at least working very slow. You know what? Shockingly, he actually was on the internet. So I guess I gotta give you half a point on that one. He posted on Twitter, "The time for politics is over. We're talking about saving people's lives," which is a curious thing to say when you don't participate in the vote that could help, save people's lives, but you're on Twitter. Former North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory said that Robinson's lack of response to Cooper's emergency request was inexcusable in a time of crisis. And I would second that. WRAL had more smoke.
Now, when we asked Robinson's office why he didn't vote, his chief of staff sent a statement that didn't address the question. Former Governor Pat McCrory criticized Robinson for needling Cooper in the middle of a crisis, telling our NC Capitol team, quote, "This is not a time for criticism. This is a time for working together. You don't do that while they're still in the middle of search and rescue and recovery." Now, Robinson plans to talk more about his relief efforts again with this press conference.
Now, Robinson responded to the report saying, when Hurricane Helene was on its way to North Carolina, Governor Cooper was too busy hobnobbing with rich folks in New York to care about preparing for the storm. Is that why you didn't vote? Huh? Is that why you didn't vote to help to secure emergency services for the storm? Cause he's too busy hobnobbing with rich folks in New York? I'm trying to, and didn't you say the time for politics was over? Like you just said the time for politics was over. I would guess that somebody might have taken Mark Robinson's phone because of how disjointed these tweets are, but he don't got nobody else left in the campaign.
Several key people in North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson's campaign stepped down this afternoon. The campaign made the announcement around 5 this evening, saying the general consultant and senior advisor, the campaign manager, finance director, and deputy campaign manager are no longer in their roles. The development comes just days after a CNN report accused Robinson of leaving comments on a pornographic website, which included calling himself a black.
I mean, his campaign at this point just got to be him, his wife, and his wife's sister, because I guess she's down with 3.
There's the Mark Robinson they show. Then there's the Mark Robinson that I know.
So it's just, I mean, really, what are you talking about? He actually continued. Now, Democrats like Cooper, Josh Stein, and Joe Biden want to hide behind bureaucratic resolutions that pass automatically instead of getting out there and working to help people in dire need. I won't stand for this. I won't stand for it. I won't do my job. While they're playing politics, my team and I remain committed to doing all we can to help our neighbors in the wake of this devastating storm. And apparently doing all he can involves touching the tailpipe of a big rig he was riding in at the Mayberry Truck Show and Parade in Mount Airy. Bruh, you know we got you in 4K with the burns from the big rig tailpipe at the Mayberry Truck Show and Parade, and you want to talk about he hobnobbing in New York? And you're not gonna vote? And you know what? The saddest thing about all this is all of this work with this reporting I've done on Mark Robinson to try and censor myself. And here I had to say, when it was all said and done, that Mark Robinson touched the tailpipe. I told myself it wasn't gonna happen.
Robinson burned his hand while leaning against a truck. We are working to independently confirm this information.
Now here's the thing. When you ignore our collective good for your own personal gain, to make some sort of political point, as we have seen with the people making excuses for Donald Trump and his actions on January 6th, as we see with the fact that Mark Robinson was able to ascend to lieutenant governor at all, When you make these kinds of decisions, it's just a matter of time before you will now be counting on this person for your own personal gain. You will need them for our own collective good, and you have to deal with the consequences of your actions. This is what happens when you ignore things like fitness for office, because you can't tell me this man was vetted and deemed fit for office. This man not even fit to ride a big rig at the Mayberry Truck Show in Mount Airy. And he's certainly not fit for nobody's message board. In fact, I'm surprised he's allowed back on the internet. Also, before I go, I want to send love and prayers up to everybody that was caught in Hurricane Helene. I was actually in South Carolina myself when the storm hit, and a lot of you guys have been sending me messages and leaving comments. But I especially want to draw attention to this email I received from Miss Greer in Georgia, who said both the Savannah, Chatham County area and the Augusta area have large populations. But in situations like this, we in every other area are prioritized well after Atlanta. So when the reports go out that they have restored power to hundreds of thousands, those people are all in the same area. Unfortunately, despite our state has a Republican government, the Harris ticket will suffer. The people in these areas who, like me, wouldn't vote for Trump if he were the only candidate on the ballot simply won't vote. And trust me, these two areas will take the Harris ticket over the top. But when people's needs aren't met, they vote their feelings, not their conscience. Now, we have seen shenanigans last election, actually, when it came to the mail. And I wouldn't put anything past this election because we've already seen voter suppression efforts in Texas and in Florida, and in Georgia. So one thing I must say is to be vigilant. Make sure that you have all the proper identification. Make sure you check your voter registration well in advance, and do everything you possibly can to make sure that your vote is counted. And yes, by the way, I did see your emails about the Vigilantes documentary. I'm gonna have to check that out over the weekend, and I'll give you my thoughts next week.
Okay, no. Randy, put your cup down and turn around. Ma'am?
No. Let go of me. You let go of me. Let go of me. Let go of me.
Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I very much appreciate the support. And as I mentioned previously, we got membership now. Yes, it was something that you guys suggested, and a suggestion that I took and moved forward with. And it's something I'm really super excited about. That's going to give me the ability to give people early access to videos and ad-free experience, and also be able to record things on the go when I'm not necessarily in my perfect environment. I have something I just want to drop in real quick. I have the ability to do that. The ability to give you guys deep dive investigation pieces, some of the stuff that may not necessarily be topical, but stuff that deserves your attention. And of course, some of the uncensored content as well, because Lord knows the kind of stuff that I have to cut out of my videos can make pieces in and of themselves. Well, now I have the ability to do all of that. So sincere thank you to everybody that has joined the channel already. I can't wait to see where this goes.